Okay, I think we are live. Welcome everybody to the node.js ecosystem security working group. Before start, does anybody have any announcement? I don't think so, right? Let me just please include your names to the minutes. We just include the recording here. Awesome. Okay, so as usual, let's go to the vulnerability review. That is the Node.js dependency vulnerability assessment. The issues looks like we don't have anything, only the npm one. We are still waiting for actually that's a good question. Darcy was the one responsible to check if the vulnerability or the dependency review affect Node.js or not, or how can npm improve their side of that. But as far as actually I saw on Twitter, Darcy is no longer npm staff, so we might need someone else to jump in. But I think we don't have updates on that, right, Facundo?
No, no news.
Okay. So going to our agenda, I suggest to go to the initiatives in the end because it will take a lot of time. So we can go directly to the issue 828, automate update of all dependencies. So Facundo.
Yep. So last time we discussed about checking. Oh, sorry, I'm confusing the issues. This is for the automated updates.
Yes, the OpenSSL
Yep.
one.
Yeah. So latest on that is that yeah, I think it was Rafael. You commented on the issue that we should have separate commits during the automated update, so that one commit replaces the OpenSSL folder with the new version, and the second commit actually updates the files that you would generate when you run configure on the repo, which is a good point. The only thing with that, the only trade-off is that right now all the updates for the dependencies, the automated updates, assume that any update will consist of only one commit. So it will update the dependency and create a PR with just one commit with all the changes. And
This
that
is a tool that we already used internally.
it's a GitHub action. It's a GitHub action that grabs a repo folder and creates a commit with the changes on it, and then opens a PR with it. So the thing that happens is that we use that same action, the same action code for all the dependencies that we update. So all the dependencies are treated the same, and so they all consist of one commit for the update. If we want to make OpenSSL 2 commits, we need to extract the code, like make a separate case for OpenSSL, which will make it a separate case from all the other dependencies. So yeah, that's the only downside. Will increase the complexity of the GitHub Actions code that takes care of the automatic updates.
Yeah, I mean, can you send me the GitHub action? I think I can do
Yep, give me
something.
1 second. Okay, so I'm sending it to the chat.
check. Okay, create or update request action.
Yeah, so for example, if you look at line 144, you will see that there's one commit message that says that grabs the current dependency of the matrix. So the matrix is like the parameterized list of dependencies that we're updating. So this code gets executed once per dependency, right? So in one iteration, you have made the value of the matrix is OpenSSL. In the second iteration, the value of the matrix is zlib or whatever. And
yeah,
so,
but if you just reutilize the same the name of the action is create or update pull request. So the first commit will create the pull request, and then you have the second one to have multiple commits. I will send you an actually in this repository you can see there is an example of multiple commits right
yeah, indeed. So
before
it
debugging.
is possible. The problem is that the code that is now on the node repo, so that action, that code is shared between all dependencies. So if we add if we add a configuration to create a second commit, that would also affect all the other dependencies. Does that make sense? So in the example you sent, let me see.
Okay, so all right, so you just created it's a list that makes use of that action. So we
Yeah,
have
exactly.
pack, we have doc, unchi, and then you just included the OpenSSL, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So the way I see it, we have three options. One is, yeah, do it all in one commit. The second one would be to just have a separate action for OpenSSL update, like separate from all the other dependencies, and then we can customize it however we want, which has the advantage that it would be simple to do. The disadvantage would be that yeah, we would have two places where updates take place, one in this parameterized action and the other one in whatever we put the OpenSSL update. And the third option would be something like try to generalize this, the action that we currently use, so that it can take as a parameter an arbitrary number of commits and their messages. And then in each section of each dependency, we would provide, okay, we want to create only one commit with one message. In the case of OpenSSL, we would provide two commits with two messages, but that would increase the complexity of the whole action. So yeah, there's no real
Okay.
win-win
So
scenario. We can just choose where to put the complexity.
yeah, so I think we can try with a single comment. I mean, I don't see a word we really need to I don't know, to go to the commit revert and run the architectural the config file again. I think we can try with a single commit because it will require less work. Yeah, I will review it right now. Can you share the pull request here so everybody
Yep.
on the team can review too?
Here it is. Yeah, I can also try to just have like a proof of concept of creating two commits to see how much complexity would add. Because right now I don't have, like, I didn't write the code and just extrapolating from what I know. But yeah, maybe we can have a proof of concept and see if the complexity it adds is worth it or not.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So only OpenSSL is the thing that you are working on, right?
Yeah. So since we started this, I think we've already added uh, 3 dependencies. So
Which one?
let me check my closed PRs. So we have
It's because
OpenSSL,
there
which
is a
is
checklist on the issue, so we need basically to have it.
oh yeah, we still need to, but yeah. So we have base 64, Acorn, and libuv. Those 3 have been merged.
Okay, so can you paste the pull request here, or at least to update the main issue? There is a list of
Yeah, I'll update it. Yeah.
so yeah, just include the pull request right after the dependence, so that will be great.
Okay.
So let me update the minutes. So base 64, Acorn, and libuv are ready.
Mhm.
Update 2 was already merged.
So I'll add a comment because I don't have permissions to edit the checklist.
Okay. Okay. Great. Great work. So move forward. The permission model. I have some updates on that. I have spent the last 3 days working on it, and I have fixed it. Not I have changed it to the non-permissive approach. Finally, it's ready. I have merged to the main branch, and main branch, I mean the pull request branch, not to the to the main repo. Right now, yesterday I fixed a bug on the Hadix tree algorithm, and today I will work on some edge case and also in the documentation. So I'm pretty sure for the next week I will keep working on the documentation, and then I open the pull request for review, and we'll probably have something to share and to land pretty soon, I guess. So if you want to keep eye on that, subscribe to the pull request. I think I will have something very soon, and yeah, that's good, very good. I had a good improvement on that. So very good progress on non-permissive merged. Right. Okay. Oh, there's another one that is recursive support on Node.js dependencies. I don't know if you have worked on that, Facundo.
Sorry, which one?
The recursive support on Node.js dependencies is a feature for the dependency
Yeah.
vulnerability assessment.
So I've been looking into that because the reasoning for that was that vulnerability we talked about in NPM, right? The one that someone reported on NPM, and we still don't know if it affects Node. So I've been looking into how that vulnerability was found, and they checked the version of npm dependency. But the version, so apparently npm on the repo, they have not only the list of dependencies in the package.json file, but they also have a folder with the cached node modules. So I'm not really familiar with best practices, but is that a common practice to commit to a repo the node modules folder
No.
with the? Okay, yeah, that's what I guessed. The problem with that is that when you run npm audit, for example, to check the vulnerabilities on dependencies, npm audit basically resolves all the dependencies, creates a package lock JSON, and then checks vulnerabilities for the versions that it resolved. So far, so good. Okay. The problem with that is that if I were to run npm audit on the npm repo, it wouldn't find any vulnerability, at least now, for example, because it would resolve the dependencies using the package.json. That would download the latest versions of all dependencies, and those would not have vulnerabilities. But the dependency included in the node modules folder, the one that was committed, that's an older version, and that one is vulnerable.
Yeah, but the thing is, if the project does not contain a package log, it will happen the way that you described it. But if it contains a package log, it shouldn't. The npm audit will run against the package log.
Yeah, indeed. So let me send you. The problem here is that, as far as I can tell, the folder, the npm dependency that node vendors in its repo, doesn't have a package lock for npm. So I'll send you the link here. You can see that we have a package.json. We have the node modules folder with the cached dependencies, but we don't have any package lock. So whenever we run npm audit on that, it will download the latest versions of the dependencies, and it will basically ignore whatever is on node modules.
Okay, now I understand what you were saying.
Maybe you can use Arborist, because I think Arborist has a mod where he is going to read the non-module folder.
I'm not familiar with Arborist.
I will I'm sending you. It is one of the package that npm use. For example, when you run npm audit, it uses Arborist. And I think, I'm not sure, but I think maybe one of the mod use the non-module folder. So maybe you can look at this.
Okay.
Maybe load actual, return a promise, read the actual content of non-modules. So
the question would be if I can somehow feed this into npm audit.
I think one replace the other. I think you want. Yeah, as far as I know, the audit runs it behind the scenes, as Thomas mentioned. And if you run it manually, you basically replacing the npm audit. You just need to handle the output. But that, I think that's simple.
yeah, I can also send you, because I do it myself in one of my package. So I guess maybe you don't want to use npm audit, but you can trigger on Arborist npm audit.
I see.
So yeah, maybe it can help you. But yeah, Arborist is has a lot of features, so maybe you can do things with it.
Yeah, good to know. Thank you. And I guess the question would be, is it correct that we vendor in npm and we vendor in the node modules folder, but no package log.json?
Sorry, I was writing.
I was wondering why we vendor in npm the way we do, why we include the node modules folder in our repo, and not the package log.json.
I'm thinking, I think it's because we need everything offline to bundle the package, to bundle the binary.
Okay.
We don't have, to build Node.js, we have everything local.
But we could still vendor in the package log.json, right?
Maybe they didn't include it because it generates collision, or sometimes we remove package log because it can be quite a challenge when we work a lot with a lot of people on. For example, for packages, we kind of remove often package log or thing. Maybe I'm just speculating here, but maybe this is the reason.
Yeah, could be. Okay, yeah, makes sense. I'll check if I can do it with Arborist. But yeah, that will fix it if it works.
Okay. So I think we can go now to the initiatives, right? Yeah. Great. Okay, for the initiatives, just going directly to my latest update, we find some good strategies, and just another idea after that was nowadays is when some package release or when we receive a vulnerability report and that's applicable, and we need to perform a security release, it's a tough operation. I have mentioned it many times. It's a 42 steps for the releaser. I did it, and that's really terrible. I mean, not terrible, but it's time consuming. And we currently have the Git node utus, which is a package for Node.js developers to land a pull request, to land backport pull request, even to land LTS commit. It's working fine so far. However, I was wondering, might make sense to include into this comment an option to generate all the steps that we follow when performing a security release. So instead of me manually opening an issue with the 42 steps, then manually going to one of them and, like, for instance, opening an issue to the Node.js build team, telling that we will have a security release on this date, we can automate it by this tool. Like, okay, we will have a security release on this date, and then we pass to the CLI flag, and it will open all the issues needed, everything that it will save time. But I'm wondering if that applies to our group or to the release team. It's like a mix of both, right? Okay, I think, I don't know if we have something to discuss here. I will bring the same idea to the Node.js release team. I think we will have a meeting next week, hopefully, and I can give more updates on that. But let's go to the update list and see what we decide. One that we have agreed, we have a consensus, is the action to update our dependencies. So it's officially our next initiative. By the way, I think it would be great to create to organize or a README to include the initiatives, the current initiatives. So if someone wants to do that, would be awesome. Okay.
I can do it, I think.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
I can try to keep a list. I will create a pull request and add you based on the conclusions for this meeting and the previous meeting notes. So let's see if I don't miss any one of those, but I can do it.
Yeah, we have an example on the diagnostics. It's out of date, but it's still useful. It's just sent in the chat. So I think we can just copy the table and include the initiative.
Fantastic.
So for 2023, we have the permission model. We have the automation check of dependencies, right? And we have and then we need to decide the others. Let me check here. Okay. Looks like we have something to do. It's more research about emitter running when vulnerable. So I think it's a coordination with the NPM team. I'm pretty sure that this is useful, but I'm not sure. What do you guys think about? Just to recap. Whenever you run a node script, like let's say node index.js, if you are using a vulnerable version of Node.js, it will show a warning. But we can't do it directly on Node.js because it requires a remote call. Like before I start, I will need to check if I am vulnerable or not. So instead, I thought that would be great to include it in the npm. Whenever you install a package and it checks your current node version, it says, okay, you are vulnerable because it's already doing a remote call anyway. So do you think that's useful or that's just something avoidable?
But then would the warning appear only when you run npm or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it will be a cool idea. Personally, I would love it because yeah, I find it better that with Node, but yeah, it would be cool to have this.
Yeah, I think it's way better with Node. I'm just wondering, instead of like having it attached to npm, we could also have another option for Node.js, like Node.js check updates. We already have an issue around that, but I think it will be way harder to make people understand about it. So migrating it to npm or yarn might make sense for the first step. But if we see, okay, people is using it in the end of the day, so we migrate it to Node.js. So I will comment on the issue to tag the Node.js npm. Okay, I will do it after. Otherwise, we'll lose a lot of time here.
Okay. I think makes sense for me, at least. I think it's a good way. I think it's very similar of what happened today with npm. You know, if you use an old version and you have this, please upgrade the npm version or things like that. So I think it's useful, and the people will catch up. You know, as far as we put that on the bottom part of all the log information that we have around it, I think if it's one of the latest messages there, I think people will read and Makes sense. And and as you say, if it becomes something super popular or people like it and become, like a serious feature that everybody loves, maybe we can move to Node itself. But up to date, we ship NPM all the time together with Node. So makes sense to have it there. Although if you don't use NPM, which is not the most common case, you are not get notice about the changes. But I think it's okay. I think we cover most of the end users with this approach, even there are some people that we might not because it's not, pure Node. But yeah, I think covering with NPM will be more than enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I will ask. Go ahead.
Oh, but I was also wondering. I don't know if we should move it in the future to Node. Like, let's say everyone uses it. I agree that it's a super useful thing to have. But then if we move it to Node at some point in the future, that would change behavior of Node that currently it doesn't make any, at least that I know of, right? It doesn't make any remote calls when you run a program. And that might be like something people don't want.
Yeah, my suggestion was to have it behind the flag. It will only run when the user wants to run.
Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense. Another way I could see of doing it is also have it, have every time you run npm, if npm detects a vulnerable version, then set a flag or a file somewhere, and Node can check the existence of that file. But yeah, I'm trying to think of a way of getting it into Node and doing it offline.
Yeah,
But
we
yeah,
can't.
no.
It's impossible actually, because you do require at least to download local things. And if, let's say, you download only the binary by the web, and then your version become vulnerable tomorrow, and you have your offline telling you are okay.
Yeah, true.
So actually, instead of commenting in the issue, I think everybody agrees that this is a good initiative. So I will open another issue for that to discuss with the TSC as well, about if we should move it to NPM or go directly to the flag, check vulnerable or something like that. So we can have a conversation and hear some good points there. So okay.
I will suggest also that if we want to move to the experimental flag, maybe something that we can include too is, to have like a environmental variable or something in the context of Node, the same that you have the typical Node env, whatever. So, like with which kind of environment you are doing, although a lot of end users modify that, to have something like, is this Node.js version vulnerable or not? So that way you, even from inside of the script, you can protect it, like you check the pros environment and you can just, don't start the web server or whatever if you are not in the right version.
I think something like -- abort when vulnerable, the same as we have abort on count exceptions. So
yeah.
Great, very good. So the other one is enforce communication with Node.js dependencies. I have shared that concern with the OpenJS Foundation in a call in the TSC meeting, actually. And they were very happy about that, but neither we don't have a way to do that. Like, it's not clear to me how we have that communication. So I think it's better to have, I don't know, maybe Michael here to discuss more about it. I mean, it sounds a good thing, but we haven't agreed 100% on that. So I will leave it for the next meeting to discuss about it again. Because even though I believe that's excellent, I think that's unnecessarily complex, and sometimes it won't work. The security status page, so that was removed. Okay, and then we have the SIG store and the key supply chains framework. Actually, Beth was thinking to join. Okay, the next session, Beth is not able to join actually today's session, right? So I think she will be able to join next session, and then we can hear she talks. Moving forward. Okay, that's one that's interesting. It's explore how the project stands with the OSSF scorecard. Basically, as far as I know, the scorecard is just a metric that we know, we define about how secure is a project. So I think it.
Maybe I can help with this because I'm already working a bit with scorecard because I had to implement it in my tool, open source tools, and I right now I'm working implementing it for my organization. So I'm not an expert on the scorecard, but I kind of starting to work with the API and things like this. So maybe I can. I will help on this. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you think that's useful for Node.js in which parts?
I think they have a lot of cool metrics because they cover a lot of things. But I think a lot of things are going to be hard to because there's a lot of scores. So it's always being 10 on 10 is really hard. But yeah, I think it can maybe provide good insight on things to improve or like this. But yeah, we need to maybe run some checks on node.js project and see what kind of metrics we have.
Yeah, I have some questions about that. Is that easy to maintain? Because I assume that for a small project, even for company project, it might be some easy to do. But in a large project such Node.js that we receive a bunch of pull requests every single day and gets merged, and some of them without someone reviewing secret things about that. How can we manage those metrics to not be out of date? Because I'm afraid
I
to
think
run it.
yeah, I think they use we have to set up a GitHub Actions. But I never set up the GitHub action. I just use the public API right now. But so I don't know how it works. But I think you need to use the GitHub action or use a local binary. But I don't think it's going to work for us. A command line interface. Sorry. But yeah. So I think we have to use it work with GitHub action. But I don't know how much. How we update and things like this.
But the scorecard is not like a manual thing. Is it a tool?
This is not really a tool. It's more like the GitHub action will scan your code and it will publish all the score in a public scorecard API. And you could, after this, fetch the result.
Yeah, the thing is, usually those scanners won't work on Node.js because we use too much of primordials, right? And there's also internal bindings and so on. I'm just afraid to have something like that and it become unmaintainable at some moment and just I skip check that everybody will do it, you know. I think I would need to understand a bit more about the scorecard, how this works, and I don't know, maybe next week can you show us how you implement it?
Yeah, no problem. I will show you. I will prepare something for next week.
Okay. Actually next 2 weeks, right? Yeah. Awesome. That's amazing. Yeah. Look at fuzzing. It's actually it's another thing that Michael suggested is I think that correlates a bit with the scorecard, isn't it?
Yeah, in the scorecard they have one of the score is about fuzzing.
Fuzzing. Ah, okay.
But
So
but I even myself I don't never done fuzzing in my life, so
okay.
I don't really know what it's about, but yeah, about fuzzing, I think it will be a good idea. Maybe I can talk with Vladimir. It will be cool if Vladimir comes to one of the meeting, because I think he had some idea in the past, and I think also maybe I don't want to talk for him, but I think he has some experience with it. So yeah, maybe he can share useful insight on this.
Okay, yeah, probably it would be great to ping Vladimir to check if he can join to the next one. Great stuff. Okay, the next one is better versioning and management of tools that need to build data dependencies. Let me remember, what is it? Do you remember? I think we talked about it, but I don't remember.
Can you read it again?
Actually, I've sent here in the chat. It's my update on the security initiatives is the last item, better versioning and management of tools.
Yeah, so this is related to the fact that whenever we update a dependency, for example, for OpenSSL, we generate the config files, the architecture files, using Perl and using other tools. And the versions of those tools are not really, registered anywhere. So if I make a manual update of OpenSSL and I run it on my computer, it's done using a Perl version that it's installed in my computer. Whereas if someone else does it, it will be a different version, possibly. So I guess the idea here is to have known good versions that we should use to update the dependencies. So that, in order to make it more reproducible. And if anyone has any problem, we can know, or if CI starts failing, we can say, oh, it's using this Perl version. It could be that, or it could be something else.
But how is it related to security?
So let me. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's directly related to security, but anything that improves transparency and maintainability of dependencies will, as a second order effect, improve security. But yeah, it's mostly going through all the dependencies and tools and scripts we have and check which versions are supported, which ones we should use, document that, and make sure that the automated scripts use those versions.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the build team will be super interested on this. I have the feeling. I mean, I was in the previous meeting on Thursday, I think, and it seems like trying to find, some immutability. And also we have some challenges, with some of the machines for some environments, because, we want to, I think, make the jump to C++20, but we have some problems also to support it in some of the machines. So the idea, of having like a good list of known versions, will be okay. And, checking some of the Ansible scripts and stuff like that related, I think makes a lot of sense. Also, to have like a good recommendation when the people needs to build Node and things like that, so they know which kind of dependencies you know exactly and all of that, because some stuff can be run on Python 2 and 3, but not exactly which version of 3. So sometimes you end up with some challenges. So I think it makes sense, to have this idealistic of, those are the versions that we kind of for sure support, and the rest is potentially, or something like that. I mean, yeah, it's kind of related to security, not super heavy on security, but well, it depends, if we use vulnerable versions and things like that, might be, but yeah. But yeah, definitely the build team will be interested, I think.
Yeah, and just this initiative is just about going to all our scripts and check the versions, right? But basically, I think the work that Facundo is doing to automate the dependency supersedes it, right? Because as far as I know, when you create the script to update OpenSSL, you need to create a README too, right?
Yeah, and so it I wouldn't say it supersedes it. I would say that it could be done as part of the work I'm doing, because I would need to actually, try to find which versions are okay, document those, and force those versions on the scripts I create.
Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't done that so far with the existing scripts.
And do you think that's doable, or it's like complex, increase the complexity for you?
It's definitely doable. It would increase, if not the complexity, I would say the amount of work. Yeah, it depends on how we want to do it. If we want to do it as part of the automated updates, we can do it, or we can do it after that as a separate task. Because the advantage of doing it after or as a separate task is that you can do it for all the scripts and all the dependencies at the same time, so you can converge on one version for all the use cases. Whereas if I do it piecemeal, one by one, as I'm adding dependencies to the automation, maybe I say, oh, I'm using Perl for this dependency, this version for this dependency, and this other version for this dependency.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's.
But
can
for
also be done
instance,
like that.
for the OpenSSL, at least, you won't need much thing, right? You basically only need to have the Git version and the make version. Yeah, that's it, right?
So for OpenSSL,
It's only the Git and the if I remember correctly.
The thing is, OpenSSL has a couple of dependencies in order to build. So those are. Let me check.
Yeah, but those are the same. Those dependencies are the same that we have to build Node.js or all. So you don't need to document them. Just say, okay, it's the same dependency you use for to compile Node.js, or at least for the make.
No, not really, because remember that this is when we update OpenSSL automatically, or at least on the PR I created, we basically spin a GitHub action on a new Docker container, and that compiles OpenSSL with whatever is in that Docker container, right? So if it's like the standard Ubuntu container using GitHub Actions, it will use whatever tools are there by default.
Yeah, but that's expected.
Sorry?
But that's expected. I mean, it's supposed to run in any machine.
Yeah, indeed. I think the point here is that, for example, on the current script that updates OpenSSL, let me look for it. So previous to compiling OpenSSL, we do apt-get install, and we install some things, right?
Let me check. Containing OpenSSL. Where are you saying that?
So let me send you the link. So here on the first file, On the first file, on line.
Okay, but that's already
137.
Yeah, but that's already documented over here. So you basically don't need to just
No, the point is that
migrate to README.
the point is that that apt install command installs whatever version is on that Docker image, right? Or whatever version it corresponds to that Ubuntu Docker image. I think what we want would be to document exactly which version we're using and it's known to work, and then force installing that version to in all of our CI.
I don't know. Honestly, I think that can be part of as you said, just the updating. You can use whenever a version, and when you finish and is about to commit, you also update the README, telling, okay, I have used those versions, and if you look to the pull request and that's all green, that's fine. Now, I think we only need to keep track of the latest version that it was built. Otherwise, it will be out of date pretty soon.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree, because then we would be using the latest versions of all tools in order to build, which is good, of course, for to having the latest updates. But I don't know if it's actually what we want to improve reproducibility, right? But yeah, I agree that we could, as a first step, we could do that. We could say, okay, whenever we build something, we also register somewhere which versions we used to build that.
Yeah, I'm saying that we need to register the version that we use that succeeded, right? So only after the merge you have that file telling, okay, the OpenSL was built with that version, and that succeeded. That's okay. So if you create a new pull request and let's say you use the latest version of I don't know, make, and that's failing now, you know that it's a different version because you compare the README, and I think that's the purpose, right? Because if we say it works on make 2.0, and now if someone looks at the project and we know that make is already on 6.0, it will be way harder to update, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think we should maybe let's table it for now. But I see the advantages of what you suggest. So I agree with that we would like to have it updated as often as possible so that we don't get behind.
Yeah, I'm just saying that because it is frequently, if we don't have something automated to maintain, to self-maintain the project, probably it will be out of date pretty soon. Because if you leave the project, if I leave the project 2 years ago, two years after, it will be the same, you know. It is hard because we, as an open source, we don't have someone responsible to update something. So that's how it works. So can I mention can I merge both initiatives, the automate with the last one to have documented? Or do you think that is something separated?
I would leave them separate for now because I would rather focus first on having an update mechanism for dependencies, even if it doesn't use even if it doesn't do this with the versions of the tools, because I do think that that's more urgent and it's more related to security. And I think the other part is a nice to have that we can add after. So for now, at least, I wouldn't merge them.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. So we reached our end of the agenda, end of the meeting. So thank you guys. It was great. Let me check the next meeting because I think it will be the middle of the holiday, wouldn't? It will be.
I
Let
think
me check.
almost. Yeah.
It will be 22. Are
Yeah.
you guys available 22, or do you think we need to reschedule to next year?
I won't be available on the 22nd.
Okay.
Might be tricky for me, so you can schedule.
Yeah. I will leave it to I will let Michael create the issue, and then we update the issue. Okay, I want to be available, and then we decide. Okay, let's skip that for now.
Sounds good.
Okay. Thank you. See you next year, I guess.